Resident Evil Requiem pre-orders are now live, and they came with a special video from Capcom. We're going to break down what we think about Requiem's pre-orders and the Deluxe Edition and all the goodies, as well as that video. This is First Aid Spray, another news video. My name is Sai, joined today by James.
Hello.
And we've been waiting all day for this video, but it's here.
Oh my god, have we?
But it is here, and there is a lot to talk about. We're going to do this in a bit of a funny order. I just want to jump straight into the Deluxe Edition contents of Resident Evil Requiem. If you haven't seen these doing around already, I'll just quickly run through what you're expecting to get out of the Deluxe Edition of the game. A total of 5 costumes, one of which is Grace dressed as Lady D. There are a total of 4 weapon skins. One is called the Apocalypse skin for the SNS M232 handgun. There are screen filters, one of which is Apocalypse, the other one we don't know. There is a total of 2 charms with the return of the Mr. Raccoon charm. We have an audio replacement plaque, which has become pretty commonplace with the Resident Evil remakes, but new for a numbered title, and files, letters from 1998. And also on top of that, there is another image here of Grace's costume, Apocalypse. So that's what they revealed. No big collector's edition statue, which I think everyone was the big speculation point moving into this. Who's it going to be? Is this the big reveal of a second character? But how are you feeling about what we have got in terms of the Deluxe Edition?
I was disappointed because we didn't get a collector's, but I think that is something that is coming later down the line. I think it might be a little bit too early to do a collector's at the moment, because I think they might. I don't like this, but I don't think it's Grace. I think it might be something else. Mm-hmm. I would love it to be the sister or whoever is in the hotel. That'd be sick to have a BOW statue.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, but the deluxe edition, you get a lot here. I'm not a super big fan of deluxe editions just having digital cosmetic stuff like this. Sure. But they need to sell it somehow. And I also don't like that we have lore behind a deluxe edition,
yes.
Which I thought we left behind, Capcom, and all that was airsoft guns, etc. I thought that was a thing of the past.
Well, Village had it, didn't it? It had the Baker file thing, which was actually really cool, and unfortunately sets a bit of a precedent. I wonder if the files from 1998 are literally just pre-existing files from Resident Evil 2 and 3 you can read in-game. Maybe, I don't know. It's not very specific on that one. There is a lot of vagueness with this. But yeah, I'm kind of with you, but I'm also in the sense that I think there's going to probably be another version. I wouldn't even be entirely surprised, but the contents here that we got, I'm kind of into it. I like, Resident Evil has a history of costumes, and we'll talk about that, but I'm a big fan of that kind of thing. And the audio pack, as I mentioned, it's kind of cool to have it in a new number title. Obviously, your thoughts go to, classic versions of the RPD theme, presumably the 1998 version, not the 2019 version. But immediately I saw that. I'm going on a wild tangent already. This, to me, implied more classic Raccoon City locations, perhaps, than just the RPD. Because if you've got a whole pack of classic Raccoon City music, do you have a whole pack of classic Raccoon City locations to put that music in?
That's a great point. Yeah, I didn't even think of that. Oh, my goodness. I mean, we've been thinking it, haven't we? We've been thinking, because we've been keep being told this is the biggest Resident Evil, to play. It's full of stuff, so maybe.
Mm-hmm. And obviously, the leading line is, "Hey, we're going back to Raccoon City," even though we haven't really seen much of it. That's how they got you in the trailer. So,
underline here. Okay, imagine if they put all of the locations that everybody has been bitching about from the remakes that were missing. And they put them into Requiem. Could you imagine?
I genuinely could see us going to the Clock Tower or something. I think this is...
That'd be sick.
It feels like a bit of a make-good opportunity as well, and I think that comes into it with the costume as well. Like the Lady D costume, we're away from Village now, but this does feel a little bit like... and obviously we had Maggie hosting this sort of 10-minute video as well, and they brought her back for a few of these, which is really nice. She's the community enjoys seeing her, and she clearly has fun doing this kind of thing. So I like that they've kept that connection alive, even though you can't really do anything with the character of Lady D anymore at this point. But having her as a costume is a good way to, like, I don't know, appeal to that portion of the fan base. So I think this is fun and the right kind of goofy.
Yeah, there for sure. I wonder if the skin is going to be taller or it's just going to be Grace, 5'6".
That's a really good point. Surely they're going to stretch out the character model.
Yeah, I was just thinking, like, because all you're going to see is hat, right?
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah. There are some really interesting stuff other than just my audio theory that you can kind of jump out of this. People are already pointing out some really interesting things about what this implies about the game. Our very own FB Steve said that the presence of charms and skins for guns perhaps implies weapon modding, which maybe implies a merchant of some kind, which is cool, makes sense. We've just had RE4 Remake with the merchant, and we had Village with the Duke before that. Definitely questions about what the new merchant is going to be like, if there is one. But yeah, I could see that. Customizable weapons usually means that kind of thing. Unless it's cosmetic.
Yeah, maybe the merchant is Goggle Man.
Maybe the merchant is Goggle Man. Maybe it's all a big swerve.
Before he lets you. Yeah, you have to beat him first before he allows you his stock. You know,
you have to beat me with this gun before I'll upgrade it. The other one that people are talking about, and we talked about the costume there, it is very interesting how, and admittedly, a good number of these just say like total of and don't show you the others, but it is particularly interesting that it's total of 5 costumes, and the 2 that we've seen are marked as Grace's costume blank, which does imply other characters having costumes, other potentially playable characters, whether that's Leon, whether that's Alyssa, who knows? And I mean, we just watched a 10-minute video leading up to this, and I still love that we don't know.
Can I make a theory?
Go on, yeah, please do.
So the way the video was portrayed and put through to us, which by the way, I absolutely adored everything. Like hearing Maggie say, "We're going to go through the history of Resident Evil," just put something inside me. Like it made me tingle all over, But yes, there were some names that were mentioned and some names that were not.
Yes.
Leon, Claire, and Jill were mentioned. Chris was not mentioned. Rebecca was not mentioned. These 3 characters were mentioned. And yeah, theories run wild with that. It's just I feel like when you start saying stuff like, this is the history of Resident Evil, you start underlying and put things one after the other, and then you mention some names and miss out other names. It makes it kicks the brain into gear into what might be in this game to come.
I absolutely get that. I think, trying to be realistic about it, it's pretty much just because and it was nice to see them show clips of other games for a change, but they're so remake timeline pilled at this point that they just skipped over Resident Evil 1 because the most recent iteration of that is Umbrella Chronicles. So it's not a particularly, modern looking retelling or anything like that. So that feels like the reason why they did that. Chris did get a mention in the 7 and Village bit, which felt like, because I also laughed at how they were like, there were survivors of the Raccoon City incident, they didn't mention Chris. I know he'd already left by that point, whatever, but it's kind of funny that they just skipped over him for a bit and circled back around. Yeah, but I think, it's weird because it really struck me as odd that they would explain the history of the Raccoon City incident. Fair enough, that makes sense to build towards Requiem, but to then talk about 7 and Village, which in theory have far less to do with it. And I get it because it's clearly just because they're about to say, and also 7 and 8 are coming to the Switch 2 on the same day, and they have to market that. But in particular, you're absolutely right. The thing for me is they mentioned at the end, and they didn't have to mention this, the mysterious group known as the Connections, and sort of trailed off. So that gives me hope that one of the many dangling plot threads of Resident Evil, we might see something from the Connections in 9. Maybe that's how this ties into 7 and 8.
I really hope so, because I feel like I've made fanfics on Connections. Like, I've done more work than bloody Capcom have at this point, when it comes to Connections. We need those. I said to a friend just before we came in here, I said, I have absolutely zero faith that Capcom have any, any intent to actually tie up threads. And even in Requiem, even despite its name, even despite them going back and thinking about the history, and I maybe it might be the right way to go into the game, but I still have incredible amounts of doubt that they're actually gonna tie up anything. I think that we just might get more questions.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And I know they've said before this is kind of like the beginning of a new era, so it's certainly going to end with, some amount of cliffhangers as we move into the next sort of phase of Resident Evil. But the other things to mention that come with the kind of announcement of what Requiem's going to be like, it's from a consumer perspective, it's definitely worth mentioning that they mentioned there was a press release. There is a press release going around right now that we're recording this right after the video drops, so there might be more information to come. But there is mention of a steelbook edition and a limited edition lenticular card as well. So that's quite interesting. But the stuff in the video that they mentioned that we do know about for certain is the presence of the first ever Resident Evil amiibo, which is, I'll be getting that, frankly. I'm not much of an amiibo collector, but I kind of feel obligated to get that.
It's a figurine, isn't it?
It's just a figurine, isn't it? But
if I can't get collector's edition, I'll get the amiibo.
That's all you're going to get, the miniature figurine. Go on my shelf next to Mega Man and, 4 Samuses. But interesting nonetheless. Less interesting, the Switch 2 Pro controller, which doesn't look great. Again, I might buy that anyway, just because I'm sick in the head. But it's not it's not particularly nice looking. Mention of more Fortnite content for Resident Evil. We previously have had 4 characters in the game before, but this specifically was Grace's costume and other items. So yeah, it's interesting to have a push in those out. Not just announcing Requiem, but also, hey, here's other collaborations we've got going on as well, all towards the end. And also just dropping on social media, it's worth mentioning in case you haven't seen it, there is a Resident Evil Generation Pack coming to the Switch 2, which is a really lovely looking box with physical, quote-unquote, physical copies of 7 Gold, Village Gold, and Requiem. And by quote-unquote, I mean they are game keycard versions, so that confirms the status on that. I know some people had questions about, is this going to be actual cartridges? But no, they are just the dummy cartridges with codes on them, which is a shame. Any more thoughts on the content of this? And then we'll just talk a little bit about the video as well, because we have barely touched on that.
Lovely box. It's a lovely box.
It is a lovely box.
Yeah, it would fit right at home in any library in Resident Evil.
That's right, yeah. Spin that one around and the bookshelf moves and you go down and fight the shark or whatever. Yes, so the recap, which ended with some new footage for Requiem as well. I don't know if you got anything that stood out to you amongst all of that, James, other than the fact that, it was just kind of nice to see them doing a bit of a history lesson, I guess.
Yeah, the extra footage wasn't super. There wasn't anything really there of substance, was there?
There was one shot of Grace. It's funny that they said it was going to be no gameplay, and it's kind of debatable, but it's very clearly like camera locked out of it's gameplay where they've just dismounted the camera, but Grace is firing a handgun at a zombie. Which is a really cool shot, and I'm sure will be all over social media now because I think it's the most interesting shot from the lot, it's the kind of thing people have been looking for because we haven't seen a lot of action from this game. It's half a second long, but it was a nice little touch.
There was I think the last scene that I think is new is when Grace is looking at somebody off camera and says, "What's so special about me?" Or paraphrasing there, but
yes,
and it again, like there was that. In our last news video, I brought up the point of just that look that she's giving somebody behind glass, and I saw that look again. Like from her, like it wasn't real fear; it was confusion, and it's which is an interesting. I love that we live in an era of gaming graphical fidelity where you can tell the emotion on a face. Yeah, for starters.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting. So we've had that twice now. it gets me even more excited because they haven't really released much more information, and we really wanted that. We didn't want any more, did we?
Yeah, and we are sort of rocketing, on our way towards release. We've still got a few months to go yet. It's possible that everything goes a bit quiet now for a while because this video did end with the announcement that there is going to be a Resident Evil showcase next year. No date on that, but it's going to be before the release of Requiem, obviously, because it said it's going to be specifically about more details on Requiem. So who knows? Between now and then, we also have the video game, the awards. So it's possible that it shows up then because it has done so far at both of Jeff Keighley's other events this year. So it's possible we'll see it then, but other than that, we do have the big showcase. My general thoughts on the video was it was nice, but it's doing the thing now where they just they're bumbling around being like, what can we show? What do we not want to show because we don't like the old games anymore, which makes me sad. In particular,
I get that.
I out loud said, no, it's not, when Maggie read the script that said, Resident Evil's first ever first-person perspective game, Resident Evil 7. I'm like, no, it's not. It's not even close. I get that it's the first mainline game, but it's just the erasure of Resident Evil Survivor, let alone Chronicles games and whatever else, makes me sad. But the production value was great. Maggie was great. It was cool to see her. And overall, I think this was a really cool way to announce what we got to look forward to in terms of Requiem, and whether or not we get a collector's edition on top of this certainly remains to be seen. But the speculation about a second character can still continue, I guess.
I am happy for it to stay that way until the release day. For sure. I loved all the props. I would love some of those props. We saw.
Why was that projector so cobwebby?
Because it's Halloween, Si.
Oh yes,
it has to be spooky. I did notice that there was a really quite large poster of that, a lovely alternative artwork on the wall.
Oh, the 30th anniversary art. Yeah.
Yeah, that Maggie walked by and then it just kind of lingered on that poster for a second. And I was like, oh, I wonder if we'll be getting that. And even though, yes, it does. It also, I'm new to relatively, I'm new to the Resident Evil fandom. And I get the disappointment. But it is also on the other side of the coin. It is nice that they are kind of keeping a consistent line here. I just hope it doesn't change again, but it probably will. But it was nice to hear all those names throughout the history video, throughout the video, because it gives a credence to them. It gives them kind of it gives foundation to the series that we're currently in the modern age. Like mentioning Miranda, Oswald E. Spencer was a huge mention. I love
his
that.
Resistance artwork as well.
and Ethan Winter's getting a shout out, and it was great to go through that. And is this the first time this has happened? Like a history of?
Well,
in this way?
Probably not. This sort of thing reminds me of a couple of videos that they used to do sort of back in the 2000s. Wesker's Report 1 and 2, and there was an Ada's Report, which was more just like a in-universe telling of events that sometimes illuminated a little bit more information and character perspective and stuff. This was not really to that level, but it did remind me of that, and it gave me the warm and fuzzies in that way, certainly. And you're absolutely right. This is definitely them being like, after Seven and Village, which were quite disconnected from the rest of the series, in terms of mainline stuff, they're like, okay, right, we're back in now. We're reintroducing everything. We are building off of the remake timeline, but we're showing a bit of Resident Evil 6 and 5 in here just to build up this sort of momentum and make Requiem feel like a big deal and reward you if you've been, whether you came in at the RE Engine era in particular. I think obviously lots of new fans there. To get excited for the next entry in this series that you've caught up with now through the remakes and through Seven and Village, and trying to illustrate that all of that's been important and it's all leading to this moment. So, really interested to see more of this game, but mostly when I have it in my hands.
Yeah, same.
Let us know down in the comments below what you thought of the Road to Requiem, as Capcom called it, and the deluxe edition of the game. Are you excited? Will you be pre-ordering the game? It is available now, of course. James, you have the prices, I think, was it £60 for standard, $70 for deluxe in the UK?
It was $59.99 for the standard and $69.99 for the deluxe edition.
So let us know down in the comments below what you think. Thanks for checking this out. Don't forget to subscribe for more Resident Evil content, breaking news, and 7 hours of podcasting about Resident Evil 6 like we did recently. Thank you for joining me, James.
Thank you for inviting me.
And we'll catch you next time. Have a good week.